Ajax have become a laughingstock. Once a supreme model of club structure in football, Ajax, who were only moments away from a UCL final in 2019, are now languishing in 14th place in the Eredivisie after 4 games, their worst start to a season since 1965. How do we reach this situation for such a historic club and one of the most important football institutions in world football? Here's the fall of Ajax. We gotta go way back to 2012, where former Ajax star Mark Overmars was hired as the director of football, tasked with continuing the winning formula for Ajax. Ajax went on to win the Eredivisie in the 2012-2013 season and the 2013-2014 season. And after 4 straight years of second place finishes, more changes to the board occurred when Edwin van der Sar was hired to be CEO of Ajax in 2016. The last piece to the Ajax revival happened on December 21st of 2017 when Erik ten Hag was hired as manager. In the 18-19 season was a marvelous year for Ajax. They did the double for the first time since 2002, scored 119 goals in the Eredivisie that season, and reached the UCL semi-final for the first time since 1997, beating the likes of Juventus and Real Madrid on the way to the semis. This is where Ajax are meant to be, making deep runs in the Champions League, dominating the Eredivisie, and after the incredible season Ajax had, some of the young stars of the team were being scouted by other teams across Europe. De Ligt made a transfer to Juventus for 75 million that summer, alongside star midfielder Frenkie de Jong, who moved to Barcelona for 75 million. Although the squad weren't greatly affected and smart signings like Lisandro Martinez and Edson Alvarez arrived that summer, Ajax went on to win the league, but the league was suspended in April due to COVID. The following season, Ajax won the double after selling Ziyech, Sven Botman, Van de Beek, and Ajax continued their title collection in 2022, winning another Eredivisie under Ten Hag, their 4th league title in a row. And Ajax had found the perfect manager, mixing with the perfect blend of recruiting and selling players at a massive fee. Everything seemed so perfect at Ajax that nothing could break it. But on the 8th of February 2022, Mark Overmars resigned as director of football after sending inappropriate messages to female employees. When Overmars left, he said, "Last week I was confronted with reports about my behavior and how this has come across to others. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that I was crossing the line with this, but that was made clear to me in recent days. I see no other option but to leave Ajax." While it was the correct decision for Overmars to move on, board chair Milian Mayer said Overmars is the best football director ever in the history of Ajax. The effects of Overmars' departure would be felt very soon, as he had a key role in the recruitment department of the club, especially with stars constantly leaving the club. On the 21st of April, Erik ten Hag accepted the role at Manchester United, and he would be leaving the club at the end of the season after such a very successful period with Ajax. And alongside, he would bring Lisandro Martinez and Antony for a combined fee of 160 million euros to Manchester United. The issue though was, since Overmars' departure, no replacement was hired by Edwin van der Sar. Therefore, the dealings were handled by Klaus-Jan Huntelaar and Gary Hamstra, who spent big money by Eredivisie standards on Steven Bergwijn, Rangers defender Calvin Bassey, and RB Leipzig striker and former Ajax player Brian Bobby. And also during the summer of 2022, the disastrous signing of Ocampos, who initially was supposed to be signed for 20 million euros, was vetoed by the board, and then he signed on a loan deal and only lasted at Ajax until January. The terrible choices didn't stop there. Hired to replace Ten Hag was always going to be a difficult choice, and to replace the big boots that was left by Ten Hag was former assistant to Ten Hag, Alfred Schreuder, who was just coming off the back of leading Club Brugge to the Belgian league title, but failed twice at Twente and Hoffenheim in previous jobs, only lasting a season at each club. But the season started off well for Ajax. They were in first place in the Eredivisie after 11 match days, but the UCL campaign had been humiliating after 4 consecutive losses, including getting embarrassed at home by Napoli 6-1. After the October international break, Ajax went on a run of 7 winless games, including draws against FC Emmen, and the last draw was a 1-1 draw versus Volendam, and on the 26th of January, Schreuder was sacked as manager and replaced by young Ajax manager Johnny Heitinga. Ajax went on to finish the season in 3rd place, their worst finish in the league since the 08-09 season, missed out on UCL football, and went trophyless, losing to PSV in the Dutch Cup final. Van der Sar, after the season, stepped down as CEO of Ajax, stating, "After nearly 11 years on the board, I'm exhausted. I feel the need to take some distance, to get some rest, and to do other things. It doesn't feel good to take decisions about the future of this wonderful club in the coming period. That is why I have decided to resign." One of the final choices before resigning, Van der Sar hired Sven Mislintat as the new director of football. Mislintat, who had previously worked at Dortmund, Arsenal, Stuttgart, he consistently found young gems at Dortmund, including Lewandowski, Dembele, Sancho, before moving to Arsenal, where he lasted only 2 years, and after the Arsenal job he moved to Stuttgart to take up the sporting directing role before being hired by Ajax in April. But this season for Ajax has been nothing short of chaotic. The first thing was to hire another new manager. Many presumed that it could be Peter Bosz, who used to manage Ajax, but Sven had other ideas and went bold and decided upon hiring Maurice Stijn, who had just led Sparta Rotterdam to a 6th place finish last year. Stijn, who had mainly managed mid-table or relegation clubs in the Eredivisie, had never felt the pressure like he was going to face at Ajax. The summer went crazier when Timber was sold to Arsenal and club captain Tadic felt upset and sensed the lack of ambition at the club. Tadic left the club after his contract was terminated and leaving the club as a legend. More departures followed, with Kudus, Alvarez, Klaassen and Bassi leaving as well. Ajax went on to spend 100 million in transfers, and they signed some intriguing signings, the likes of Chupa Akpom, Carlos Forbes. They started the season, however, with a 4-1 win, followed by a 2-2 draw and another 4-1 win over Ludogorets. But following those matches has been 4 straight winless games, including getting outplayed by Twente in a 3-1 loss and giving up 25 chances to a managerless Marseille side in the Europa League. Not only were signs on the pitch very worrying, but off the field issues were emerging. After the draw versus Sittard, Stijn responded after being asked about his input into signings. He stated, "We as a staff put forward our ideas, but Mislintat has made different choices." More off-field issues emerged with the signing of Sosa. The management company of the agent, aka Global, was a shareholder in a data analysis company founded by Mislintat, and there is now an ongoing investigation on this transfer, and this could mean that Mislintat could have received some fee from the transfer. Ajax has stated, though, it is not aware of any shareholding that AK Global has in Match Metrics. We have of course discussed this with Sven. He has provided a detailed explanation of this. And if the season couldn't get any worse, last Sunday in the Klassiker, we saw a bloodbath on the pitch. When Feyenoord went into a 3-0 lead away in Amsterdam, the match was abandoned after flares were thrown onto the pitch from Ajax supporters, and you could really question some odd choices that were made from Stijn, and again, the lack of a defensive setup, giving up easy chances to Feyenoord. After the match was abandoned, fans stormed back into the stadium and police had to use tear gas to remove fans away from the stadium. After the match, Mislintat was sacked as director of football. He only lasted 6 months at the club, and with the ongoing investigation, the choice seemed easy for Ajax to conduct, and Stijn could be soon to follow. Overall, the situation at Ajax showcases the importance of having a stable board and a clear direction from everyone within the club. And ever since Overmars' departure, it has been a colossal mess and could take Ajax years to rebuild. But no doubt, this club will return, but it may take more time than initially thought. This jersey would be ashamed of this Ajax right now. Johan Cruyff would be ashamed of what's going on at this glorious club. 4-time Champions League winners are just in an absolute disarray at the moment. And you wonder, who's going to save them this time around? You know, there's been rumors of Louis van Gaal maybe taking over. He's physically unable to. So who is Ajax going to hire to really establish this side? Who's going to really bring back the Ajax that we know from that 18-19 season? And it's just crazy. 4 years in football, a lot of things can change. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, people, of Ajax's fall from UCL semi-finalist to now 14th in the Eredivisie. If you haven't done so already, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, and if you have made it this far into the video, put a hashtag AjaxAreCrumbling. Have a beautiful day, people. Stay safe in this crazy world, and until next time, adios.
Explain something.